Hey everyone, welcome to my channel. I'm sorry to see my cat's rear end. Alright, so today I'll be talking about books I DNF'd and books that made me say grr. So let's get started. Go over. Vertigo. This is part of my DNF section. It's Horizontal Vertigo, A City Called Mexico by Juan, Villoro, and it says, let me see. At once intimate and wide-ranging, and as enthralling, surprising, and vivid as the place itself, this is a uniquely eye-opening tour of one of the great metropolises of the world and its largest Spanish-speaking city. Horizontal Vertigo, the title refers to the fear of... Here you go. Where was that? To the fear of ever-impending earthquakes that led Mexico to build their capital city outward rather than upward, with the perspicacity of a keenly observant planner. Juan Villoro wanders through Mexico City, seemingly without a plan, describing people, places, and things while brilliantly drawing connections among them. So I don't want to keep going on and on. This book is good. I just think it's a little too smart for me, and I tried reading it at the end of 2021, so in December. I think it's going to be one of those reads, I'm going to tell you about a couple of different books, where they're good. I'm just going to have to read them slowly throughout the year. This is nonfiction. It's just talking about how you describe the undescribable. You know, how do you describe some place that really, to know this place, you have to know its history in order to truly comprehend it. And so that just sounded interesting to me, and I wanted to learn more. But it's just I think it's like a little more academic in a way. And there's certain nonfiction journalistic pieces where I'll read it and I feel like the way that the writing is, it almost seems like a piece of fiction, so it kind of like sucks me in. But this one didn't, and I just think it's me. It's like I'm not in the right headspace. I have to adjust to kind of take in the material. So this will be a long read for me from now to the end of the year. So I'll definitely be sorry, my cat. I'll be reviewing it at the end of the year, just because I don't think I could just sit down and just read the whole thing. It's very dense in material, and I'm just not smart enough. I don't know. Kitty cats. Look it. Here. The next book was Dune. I saw the movie. It came out. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the conversation that they're having, which is basically still in the book. How far did I get? It's embarrassing. I didn't get far. I just think that the way Dune is written, it's a bit dry. And I'm not huge into science fiction, traditional science fiction. And I definitely think that this is one of those that's, it's just dry. I don't know what else to say. I didn't give it much of a chance, but basically it's about this family goes to a planet. They've inherited the planet, but it's actually a bit of a political trap to get rid of this particular family, and the survivors are the son and the wife. She's not really a wife, but of the head of the household. And to me, it seems like how they manipulate the idea of like the chosen one. I think it's exploring that trope, the chosen one, and not in a positive way, but kind of to say what what's wrong with that? What are the issues with that? So if you like the chosen one trope and you like science fiction, you'll like this. But my cats are just staring at me while I do this. The next one is a book that I love, but I'm going to be finishing it this year. It's also going to be a book that it's going to be a long-term read, but it's because I'm reading it to my daughter just really slowly. It's a really sweet read, and that's Jen Campbell's The Bookshop book. I love it. I love going to bookshops. I love going to libraries, but it's just it's just not something that I felt like just sitting down and plowing through it. I just thought every single story, how do I explain this? It's like a nonfiction read, and it's about Jen Campbell going around and interviewing all these people that own bookshops, but also their community, and their beginnings, where they're at now. And I just love it. It's more than just selling books. It's about the people themselves and the lives that they lead, and it's very, very sweet. The fact that I haven't finished it yet by the end of 2021 isn't enough on the book. It's just I purposely want this to be like a slow burn experience of reading it. So this is something else I'll be reading all year long. Usually I read a story here, a story there before bedtime, because they're just so really lovely, and I don't really want it to end. So it's a compliment, if anything else. Come on, stop. Oh, okay. Now I'm going to talk about the books that I didn't like. Hold on, I'm trying to distract my cat. All right. Braised Pork by Anu. Oh my goodness. There are so many people that I know that recommended this book to me, and I think that's because there's some magical realism in this book. Basically what happens is, what's the character's name? Oh my gosh, it's been a while since I'll call her Gia. I hope I'm not butchering her name. A woman that lives in Beijing finds her husband dead, and with it, that sends her on a journey, because even though her husband dies, and it seems like a terrible thing, which it is, she didn't have a good marriage. It was stifling, and actually her husband dying liberates her in a way, and she, I think, has to go on this journey of like self-discovery. And so with it, yeah, they're just some magical realism elements. Here's the thing. There are plenty of other people that are going to love this book. I just didn't. The particular critique I have about the book is the same reason why a lot of people like the book. And that's the fact that the author uses she very specifically used vague symbolism in this book, and this is a conscious decision on her part, because I read the book and I was like a little bit frustrated. I like to read a book where the author is being specific about what they want to say, and it's not even something I have to agree with. I just want to know. I love reading about other people's perspectives, and I want them to be concise. And it again, it doesn't have to be anything I agree with, but I felt like she didn't really know what she was saying, but actually that was something specific that she chose to do, because I forgot. I listened to an interview with the author, and she said that she wanted to use vague symbolism because she wanted the reader to project what they think with that particular symbolism that she used. And I kind of really didn't like that. There are just some choices. There's some things that the author kind of creates this other world of like escapism in a way, and I wanted that to be explored more, what that place means, and it seems like that's not something that she really plans on answering. So that's kind of like that really put me off, and so And I don't agree with her saying that she wants to use like vague symbolism when later on in the book she makes like a very specific like literary reference. So I was kind of wondering, well, if you plan on using such a specific literary reference to drive home a different point, why wouldn't you do that with like the rest of your book, you know? Anyways, so that's kind of how I felt. I moved over here because I'm trying to figure out what spot has better lighting, but my cats, they feel like neglected or something. Alright. Before I talk about the next book. Alright. So the next book is The Perfect Nine by Ngugi wa Thiong'o. I've read another book by him, and the other book I read by him was, I was just looking at it, Devil on the Cross. I read Devil on the Cross years ago. I love the book so much so that I immediately bought a couple of other books by him. They're sitting on my shelf. I'm going to tackle them this year. And just recently, I think last year, this came out. There wasn't much said about it. And, you know, the author is this person that I feel like I wish his work had more attention. I mean, he's been writing for years about equal rights and like social justice. The author's life itself is really interesting. He actually was imprisoned around the time of apartheid in South Africa because of what he wrote. And in fact, The Devil on the Cross was one of the books that he wrote while he was on prison on toilet paper, like their version of toilet paper in prison, which was real rough. So it was enough for him to write 2 books. So it's incredible. So he really is, I mean, he's considered like one of the greatest writers of all time, but I still feel like he doesn't get the credit. And this is what I'm saying. Oh my god, my cat. Before I make a criticism. So this is an epic, and it says, in his first foray into the epic, Ngugi tells a story of the founding of the Gikuyu people of Kenya from a groundbreaking feminist perspective, a verse narrative blending folklore, mythology, adventure, and allegory. The Perfect Nine chronicles the adventures of the daughter of the Gikuyu founders, 10 demigoddesses known as the Perfect Nine, as they lead 99 suitors on a quest to cement the survival of the Gikuyu people and win their hand in marriage. Engage with roots of feminist philosophy in tandem with myth making. The perfect philosophy of tandem with myth making. The Perfect Nine teams with page-turning action as the daughters battle a bevy of mythological monsters, each sister growing into her own unique magnificence and future self as a Gikuyu leader throughout the twists and turns of the tale. I enjoyed the book for what it is. If you don't like epics, you're not going to be into this. My only criticism, which made me not like the book, was the fact that there's a character that, how do I say this? I'm trying to remember. Like, she can't use her legs. And I kind of feel like her character's brushed to the side, but it's very specifically done, like, on purpose, because she actually, by the end, shows her strength and everything that she's capable of, and that she could also be, like, deserving of desire in a way. So, although he does talk about, it's in service of, like, feminism, but what I didn't like was that by the end of the story, the person that's like disabled is like fixed, and then her legs work, and I kind of felt like I didn't understand the purpose of that, because I think I'm seeing it through, like, I guess I'm projecting my perspective, which is that just because someone's disabled doesn't mean that they have to be like fixed. It's people are just different, right? And they move throughout the world differently. So that's the only thing. I kind of wished that this character had stayed physically the same the whole time. Instead, for there to be a need for her to change and to come into her own like whole womanhood person. That was like the only critique I have on this. And so similarly to Braised Pork, where it's like I like the book, but there's something like one thing that like throws it all off, and that's a big symbolism. The same thing could be said of this book. I love this writer. I want to read all his other work. I just didn't like that part. It kind of like left a bad taste in my mouth. So I don't know. That's just how I feel about it, but share your thoughts. Let me see. The other book is Bring Me the Head of Quentin Tarantino, which I couldn't get into. It says, in this madcap, insatiably inventive story collection, Julian Herbert brings to vivid life people who struggle to retain their sanity in an insane world. Here we become acquainted with a vengeful, personal memories coach who tries to even the score with delinquent clients, a former journalist with a cocaine habit who impersonates a famous author of westerns, the ghost of Juan, a man who discovers music in his teeth, and in the deliriously pulpy title story, a drug lord who looks just like Quentin Tarantino, who kidnaps a mopey film critic to discuss Tarantino films. This sounded so good, but I couldn't get into it. Again, I think maybe I wasn't in the right headspace, so this is a book I'm going to come back to this year. So, later in the year I'll post about it. If you want to read it with me, that'll be great. I just, this is another one where I think I didn't really give it much of a try, and I'm going to circle back. So yeah, it's Bring Me the Head of Quentin Tarantino by Julian Herbert. Okay. Then there's Jakarta by Rodrigo, Marquez, Tizano. So this is translated literature. Actually, when I read this to you, I think you're going to know exactly why I don't like it. In a chaotic city, the latest in a line of viruses advances as a man recounts the fated steps that led him to be confined to a room with his lover while catastrophe looms. As he takes inventory of the city's ills, a strange stone distorts reality, offering brief glimpses of the deserted territories of his memory. Present and past become obscured as he finds that everything holds significance and nothing gives answers in the vision realm of his own making. The turbulent and sweeping world of Jakarta erupts with engrossing new dystopias and magnetic prose to provide a portrait of a fallen city that exudes both rage and resignation. Here's the thing. I started reading this early 2020 when the pandemic was raging, and I think it mirrored too much of like symbolically what was going on, and I think mentally I just couldn't handle it at the time. So again, this is something else I'm going to read at some point. I don't know if it's going to be this year. I think I need some distance. I don't know. When the world has less pandemic, I think I could read this. I'm thinking about it. But it sounds beautiful. I tried reading it, and I just felt like I couldn't get into it. And as I said in a previous video, I think I've had a hard time reading this pandemic. So there are times when I'll read a page and I'll just loop right back to the beginning. So, but it's something I might be interested in. And my last one, which it wasn't bad, I just didn't find it great, was one that really sold like over 1 million copies. It's called Before the Coffee Gets Cold by Toshikazu Kawaguchi. This was such a sweet book. It's about a coffee shop that has the ability to time travel, and so there's like this ghost that sits by like a cup of tea, and when the ghost leaves, that gives somebody the opportunity to sit in that seat, and when um, the employee there pours tea, like hot tea in the cup, a person can sip the tea, travel to a different time that they want to go to. But the thing is, once they're in that other timeline, they have to finish the tea before it gets cold, because once it gets cold, oh, coffee, it says coffee, before the drink gets cold, because if not, there's like a consequence to that, like a negative consequence. So I can't remember if it's like the person turns into a ghost or not, or whatever. So it's different people. It's not just like one person time traveling. It's different people at different points in time traveling back. And what is it that they need to say? What is it that they need to do? Because once they go back to a certain time, they can't actually leave the seat. So it's kind of interesting what people can accomplish through communication and saying what they never said to someone that they loved, kind of thing. It was really good. It was really sweet. I just like lost my interest, but I'm sure there's plenty of people out there that are gonna love it. So I think that's it. That's it between my DNFs and books that made me go grr. And while I'm at it, I'm trying to think. Kind of sad to say. If anyone is interested in The Perfect Nine or Braised Pork or Before the Coffee Gets Cold, let me know. I'll postal mail it to you. I don't want to hold on to them. I feel bad. I don't like holding on to books that I didn't really like, and I feel like could find a better home somewhere else. So thank you for watching this video. If you're watching it, like and subscribe, and I'll see you later.